Marcus, we can close things out talking about the combine. A process that you've been through before, and you saw Devin Funchess down there, and it certainly wasn't the performance that he thought he was going to have at the combine, but he'll still be a first round pick, and he'll have an opportunity to run a better time on pro day. I'm curious. How much better do you think he'll be pro day? And just, from your viewpoint, where do you see him kind of falling in the draft?
Well, I think he'll run. Well, I think Devin is a 4.6 guy. I don't care where he runs the 40. And I think that when he runs the 40 in Ann Arbor in his own comfort zone, on his own turf, less people, less lights, camera action, they're probably more relaxed. He'll probably run a low 4.6 or a high 4.5 if he pops one, But I think the thing about the 40, it just really kind of tells you, like, either you're a 4.65 guy, indoor, outdoor, in Indianapolis, in your hometown, but it doesn't really the gauge doesn't really change much. It's not going to go from 4.7 to 4.4. That's
right.
Just not, So he's a 4.6 guy on average. So I think that's what he'll run. I think also his drills might be a little different because it all depends on who's throwing him the ball. Which quarterback's going to be throwing him the ball? Is it someone that he knows, that he's familiar with, that's also trying to get a look? So he may feel a little more comfortable with that. But I think Devin Funchess is still going to go in the first round. It just kind of depends on when the first wide receiver is taken. And when it comes to the draft, they'll say something like, oh, this is the year of the quarterback. Then 5 or 6 of them will go first round, and everybody's got to have one. Or it's the year of the wide receiver, and it's really like a domino effect. If two guys go in the top 10, then that means the next 3 guys are like the next guy's off the board, and that can be sooner than later. I think it all depends on what team is on the board for Funchess. And I don't really think it should be a big deal to be made if he goes in the first round or not. I know a lot of people do it, maybe for money reasons. It is a factor, but he needs to go to the right system. He needs to go to a team like the Patriots who move around, big guys, big offensive threats in the passing game, like Gronkowski. He's a tight end, but he can line up outside. Jimmy Graham lines up outside, and see teams in those systems, they create matchup problems. They'll formation you and then force you to put someone that's in a very odd situation lined up on an athlete in space, and it's over with. I believe the Patriots did that in the Super Bowl and threw a deep pass or something, and one of those linebackers got beat in the first half, and it was just like you just can't line up. So I'm not saying, Funchess doesn't have to be a wide receiver in the league. I know he probably wants to, but he should be able to do both and move around. And the more you can do, the more versatile you are, the more money they're going to pay you, and the more opportunities you're going to get to catch the football. I don't know if Devin will be able to get off the line, right away as a rookie going against some grown men like Patrick Peterson or Revis or Sherman or guys like Browner, But if he moves around a little bit and lines up on an Earl Thomas, who's probably 5-6 inches shorter than Funchess, then that'll give him an opportunity to, make more plays and be successful. I just think he's going to go probably second or third wide receiver off the board, depends on what he runs. And it's just like anything else, Sam. It's just like college football. You can only play for one team. You only need one girl to like you to go to the prom. Mm-hmm. You don't need everybody to like you. Same thing with when those kids come out of high school. Oh, I got 25 offers. So that's cool. That means everybody knows about you, but you can only go one place. And so I think at the end of the day for Funchess, he needs one team to fall in love with him that needs his skill set, that he can help right away, and then he'll go wherever that team is on the board.
All right, so with let's move on and talk about Jake Ryan, who he measured in and weighed in 6'3", 236 pounds. He ran a 4.65, Marcus, vertical, 34.5 inches, 20 reps on the bench. What about Jake? I remember reading Mike Mayock saying he thought he was a special teams guy. I thought Jake Ryan tested better than that.
Yeah, I think Jake Ryan tested better than what most people probably thought, especially in the run department. Running a 4.65. I mean, and that's not saying he can't run. It's just, man, it's hard to run against the clock, man. Devin Funchess just figured that out. It's hard to run against that clock. And sometimes it doesn't always show up on tape what you are speed-wise. But we know Jake's a football player. He got moved around a little bit. And now I think he put himself in a position where with his workout, if he can improve or keep it the same on pro day, that can only help his stock. And he needs to probably go to a more of a 3-4 system. I think Jake is an outside backer, like a Clay Matthews type, where he can be a 3-4 outside linebacker who can rush the passer, because that's Jake's natural deal. It's the skill set is to rush the passer. But in Michigan, when we first fell in love with Jake, he was a defensive end, and Greg kind of played him as an outside linebacker, defensive end. That's kind of what they're doing with those hybrid players. He needs to go to a system like that, like the Steelers, Green Bay. They run those type of systems where James Harrison or Woodley can rush off the end, but also drop in the flats. And that's what Clay Matthews does out there at Green Bay. So I just think Jake's going to start off as a special teams player, like most young rookies that come into the league. Only first and second rounders really get a lot of reps, really, unless somebody goes down. But I think he can definitely play his way into the 2 deep. And if he plays outside backer, not inside, I just don't think inside backer is his deal in a 4-3 or a 3-4. He is a pass rush supreme guy. And a lot of times when people recruit out of high school, there's a projection saying if a guy can play defensive end, he probably can play Mike backer. And that's why Greg moved him from defensive end to Mike backer, because there's some type of magic these coaches see that it correlates from a guy who plays defensive end should probably be able to play the middle backer or go tackle to tackle. I don't know how they come up with it, but they do. But I think Jake Ryan is going to be probably a 4th round guy, that because he had a lot of production, and the pro coaches know where your skill set belongs. Colleges use you where they need you. Pros put you where you belong, not necessarily where they need you. Because if you put a guy where he belongs, you can get the most out of him. Instead of a college team playing a guy like Denard Robinson at quarterback for 4 years. It's like the NFL said, "Oh, we just put him at running back because that's what he is." Mm-hmm. And so it works a little different. Same thing on defense. But I think Jake will get drafted in the middle rounds, and I think he'll actually make the team and be more than a special teamer.
All right, and Marcus, the last one for you, the guy who was the top performer physically, but when it came to the interviews, he received some criticism. So Frank Clark, he had to kind of a deck stacked against him going in, but man, he killed it in the workout. 6'3", 271, ran a 4.79, 19 reps on the bench, 38.5-inch vertical, 4.05 in the 20-yard shuttle, 7.08 in the 3-cone drill. Both were number one at his position. He was a beast when it came to the physical side of things. Now, when it came to the interviews, and I'll just read to you what he said to the media, what he said in talking about what he said to NFL teams. He said, I don't want to get into too much detail. The detail I did get into, I did with NFL teams. When we were in the room, the person involved let something get out of hand and took something further than it was planned. You look at a phone nowadays, these phones get a lot of people into trouble. I'm not saying I'm a womanizer or anything of that nature. I'm just saying it was a confrontation between me and one of my friends, and a woman involved took it to another level that I shouldn't have been taken to. That's fine. I'm not throwing her under the bus. I'm not saying she did anything wrong. I'm just saying that a lot of things that happened in that room that night could have been avoided. Now, Marcus, that has drawn some criticism. Now, it should be noted that before and after that comment, it was sandwiched between him saying, hey, I take responsibility. It's my fault. But in that segment, he kind of said, hey, she took it to another level, which might be true, Marcus, but I don't think that you can say that. I don't think that you can say that if you're him. Tell me if I'm wrong or not.
No, I agree with you. And really, the way the interviews are set up at the Combine, a lot of people don't know is they test you. They actually pick a fight with you. They actually pick a mental fight to see how you're going to handle it, what you're going to say, and he kind of fell for it. See, really, the whole thing is say less. Go in there. You're better off not saying anything versus saying something that can make it worse, because they want to test you. They want to know, can this happen again? Do you feel remorse? Whose fault was it? Are you being defensive? Are you a guy that's going to stand up and take, be accountable for what you did? Because the league's not going to tolerate guys like you. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those coaches said, this league is not going to tolerate guys like you, because that's how they speak to you behind closed doors, not because it's a personal attack, but they're trying to figure out, are you the right fit? And so now, just in anything, in court, in meetings, say less. Man, that's a ray of light for everybody. Even myself, I've had to learn that. Some of that stuff that you get involved with, it doesn't help you any to try to explain your side or make yourself look better. It happened. I moved on, and I'm sorry for all parties involved. I own my mistakes, and things are getting better. That's how Frank should have been coached up. But because his future's on the line, he's behind closed doors in an interrogation room. I can see a little bit of cracking going on where it's like, man, look, it wasn't like that, dog. Like, what are you saying? Like, y'all don't really know the truth. And none of us know. But they don't really care to know. They want to know how you're going to handle it, what's your response going to be like. Is there any potential for this type of stuff to go on again? Is this a pattern? Who are you? That's how they probably did Frank. That's how they did me at the Combine when I got suspended for going to a concert. It was, Charlie Weiss pretty much told me that I was the worst human being on the planet. And what I said to Charlie, I said, you don't know me. You can't say that. He said, I know people that know you. I like Michigan guys, but I don't like you, and I want you out of here. And that was my interview with the Patriots. He told me how great Bledsoe was. So I can relate to what having adversity and then Frank Clark walking in there, and they just start going at you. Same thing with Devin Funchess. Hey, why were your numbers down this year? What do you say about the guy that everybody thinks you don't have any heart? And now you got to defend yourself and talk, man, I ain't really had no quarterback. I got moved around a little bit. My production is down because they're looking to see they're testing you for immaturity, mental toughness, and are you a grown man? Are you able to take the question and answer it in a way that's truthful, but you don't say too much and you don't make yourself look worse? But as far as Frank's concerned, he tested out the gym. That got a lot of people's attention. They're going to downplay it like it doesn't because they don't want to know. They don't want everybody to know who's interested in who. Frank Clark's probably going to get drafted. Okay, it still may be late. I was thinking he was a late round pick anyways, just because of his height and not knowing where you could put him. He could also play that outside backer position where you stand up and rush. So the fact that he tested well helped him on the field, but the interview process probably got some people looking at him like, but they also know that it's still going on and it's recent and it's fresh. So that NFL game, they test you, Sam. They test you mentally, especially when you get in those interviews one-on-one, and it's all about how you handle it. Now, Tony Dungy was different. He sat down and said, son, listen, I know you're a good kid. If you're on the board later on in the draft, we're going to take you, depending on what we do. Basically, he told me that he, was kind of on my side. You're a great player. You had some hard times. We've drafted other players like this before, and I wish you well. But then there's other teams that'll just throw you under the bus, test you mentally, step on your throat. And so that's just what Frank probably experienced at the Combine. But I think he'll end up getting a shot at the next level for sure with those numbers.
Gotcha. All right. Well, great stuff. As always, Marcus Ray.